It's the greatest spectacle in racing, and it gets underway right here, right now. Welcome to the month of May at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The green light has gone on for first practice. Let's hand over to INDYCAR Radio until Sky Sports F1's pictures become available. Stand by for the action. We're almost ready to go. We're here, ready for the month of May. Let's hand over now.
And that it was the morning time that would seemingly offer the best opportunity to get out and get laps in. And so here we are. Yes, there was a slight miss. They took a look at that, got us delayed by just a few moments. But now things are underway, and cars already coming in after that install lap to take a look. And several things, Nick, that we presumably will see in terms of today. Not all of them are immediately visible when looking at the speed charts or watching teams, but going out and trying different fuel runs, going out to see how the car works with different amounts of fuel in the tank in terms of the balance, trying different tire setups, trying different wing setups. There are a number of things, and sometimes you might think that one team is struggling, Nick, but at the same time, they could be struggling by design because they're creating challenges for the car to see how it will respond. So there are a lot of different strategies that go into play here over the next couple of days.
Yeah, and especially, Jake, in these first couple hours, because as you know, for a lot of these teams, they have a dedicated Indy 500 chassis that they have been working on, that they used in the test earlier this season, that has sat in the garages of these race teams and has not been touched or not been run. But for some of the smaller teams, Jake, this first hour or so could be a lot of turning those cars over into oval mode, because for a lot of those teams, some of the cars that they use during the Grand Prix are the cars that they use for the Indianapolis 500. So very important for these first couple hours to make sure that everything is shaken down, that those cars feel okay. As you mentioned, just about everybody, brought their car back to pit lane. We see Stingray Robb, one of the second-year drivers. He just brought the A.J. Foyt machine back to pit lane, and everybody's looking over those race cars. Here is what is at stake. 34 entries, Jake, for the 33-car field, with qualifying waiting just this upcoming weekend, when we will decide the starting field for the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500. And I'll be honest with you, you start looking up and down the entry list, and it's hard for me, Jake, to really pinpoint who's going to struggle. I mean, obviously, you can't gather that much from the test session. The test sessions that we had were affected by weather, but always a lot of fun with qualifying coming up to decide who's going to make the field and who gets bumped. Obviously, it was Graham Rahal and Rahal Letterman Lanigan. They were the team that struggled quite a bit a year ago, but as we know, from year to year, things change. These cars are a little bit different. They're a little lighter because of the hybrid system that was supposed to be in them. Take a little weight out of these machines, and all of a sudden we expect some really quick speeds. So a lot of question marks in terms of who's going to be good. And ultimately, as we watch those top speeds, we're also going to be looking towards the rear of the field to see who's struggling.
The other thing, Nick, that is always hard to predict, and it's a reality, there's going to be somebody who we don't expect that's going to be chasing it all week. And all of a sudden, usually by about mid-Thursday, you start to hear the rumblings of, hey, are they off?
Right.
Are they not working on something, or are they just, did it elude them? Did something change in their telemetry, their data? There's always one of those cars. And also, and you certainly hope this does not take place, but you also have to account for the possibility that there is an on-track incident that, and you certainly hope from a physical standpoint doesn't knock a driver out medically speaking, but where someone tears up a car and doesn't have a backup, or the backup is not ready to go, the backup hasn't been set up in terms of just all of the aerodynamics of it, and then all of a sudden they're chasing that as well. And sometimes that's somebody that in no way, shape, or form did you anticipate going into it would miss the race. So those storylines are those that we watch. I mean, Will Power is one that a year ago was chasing it. Now, they obviously got into the field and everything turned out okay, but you never would expect that to happen with that team. Sometimes teams that have multiple cars will go out and say, okay, we're going to do setup A, B, and C, and see which one works best. If setup C doesn't work well, and they continue to work on that to see exactly why that one doesn't work out, if they have to end up going to it in a different condition, and then they get too far behind the 8 ball and they try to put setup A on it, and for whatever reason on that particular car, it just doesn't respond. There are so many variables that can go into it, but it's part of, Nick, the intrigue of what makes this the greatest spectacle in racing. It's part of what makes it, as Scott McLaughlin is the lone car out on track right now, turning laps. It's part of what makes it what it is all of the storylines and the fascination of figuring out who hits, who misses.
You know what was amazing last year? We didn't have an on-track incident until the Monday practice after qualifying. And, obviously we're knocking on wood that continues this year. But, I mean, all through practice leading up to qualifying, and then even in qualifying, we didn't have anyone tag a wall. Everyone, kept it relatively clean until that unfortunate incident involving Steph Wilson and Catherine Legg that obviously put Steph on the sideline. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. This week of practice, if we're trying to identify who may be a threat to miss the show, if somebody does have a problem, one of the rookie drivers gets spooked, it's always something that we keep an eye on. But you mentioned Scott McLaughlin looks like he is the lone driver. Connor Daly's going to join him on the racetrack. McLaughlin, the only driver that has really turned a lap at speed, as just about everybody was turning an install lap. McLaughlin is arcing it into turn number 3. It's that familiar Pennzoil livery, Jake, that we love seeing year after year because of the history, the legendary drivers that have taken those Pennzoil colors to victory lane. Really commend Team Penske the fact that they've continued that partnership with Pennzoil, and that Pennzoil is willing to sponsor a car year in, year out so that we get that kind of throwback livery that we've loved for so long.
It is car number 3, which signifies not only that familiar number for that car and that paint scheme, but also the number of races Scott McLaughlin has completed in the Indianapolis 500. He, in the first and third, ran all 200 laps. He had a 150-lap effort back in 2022, finishing in 29th in that race with contact. Technically speaking, last year out with contact as well, but that was on the final lap of the race. But a guy that I think you have to look at and say that McLaughlin, there are a lot of things going on with Team Penske now. There is no doubt about that with the suspensions and with McLaughlin. Although he fared well in the Grand Prix, ran well on Saturday, but still one would have to assume that those distractions are there. But I think one that you have to consider to be a guy that we would expect to be qualifying in the front third of the field, certainly in Scott McLaughlin, as he wars his way off of turn number 2. McLaughlin in his last lap that he just turned, also his fastest, 219.327 miles an hour. That is just a half a mile an hour slower than the fastest lap turned, Connor Daly, at 219.827. They really are the only two that have turned laps at actual speed here. A couple of others have gone out, just simply done an install lap, including another one that's intriguing to me, Nick, because he's a veteran who, quite frankly, seemingly should have, or could have, it's probably a better way of saying it, multiple wins here, but Lady Luck at times in races just not on his side. Talking about Ryan Hunter-Reay, who in a couple of years, I thought had, a couple of years had one of the fastest cars in the race and looked really good, and then mechanicals and things like that took him out of it. But Ryan Hunter-Reay is one of them that certainly knows his way around this.
Yep, and this is an important handful of laps for him to get on the racetrack because they had electrical gremlins in a test session about a month ago that I don't think he turned a single lap at speed. I think that entire Dry Ride Racing team felt like they were a little on the back foot, but always good to see Ryan Hunter-Reay back at the Indianapolis 500. Again, his teammate Connor Daly, a 2-car effort for Dennis Reinbold. I know the JBMotorsports folks are involved in that effort as well, and they announced yesterday the sponsorship on that car for Dreyer Reinbold Racing, the 666 Ranch down in Texas, 46s, my bad, and then the 101 Studios that has produced the fantastic shows that a lot of folks love, Yellowstone, 1883. So cool to see them involved with the sport, and obviously, as you mentioned, Jake, it's always cool to see Ryan Hunter-Reay, one of the best in the last several years of running here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a 500-only effort for him. We don't get to see Ryan throughout the course of the full-time IndyCar Series season, but that Dreyer Reinbold Racing team, they always bring good race cars. It's professionally done, despite the fact that it's a one-off effort, and two pretty good drivers in Ryan Hunter-Reay and Connor Daly, who's had some strong runs here as well, Jake.
I'll tell you another driver who's out on track right now, Nick, that I think a year ago in particular, we didn't necessarily realize, or it didn't pop out until all of a sudden he was right in the thick of it, how fast and how strongly he had come through the field.
And finally, we have our TV pictures back up and running, to which I thank the guys at INDYCAR Radio for taking us through the opening few moments whilst we waited for timing 71 to adjust, and also for Sky Sports F1 to finally decide, yeah, let's stop showing last year let's stop showing the 2021 race from Emilia-Romagna and actually start showing the coverage. It's there from Newgarden.
You just to get out here and just kind of familiarize yourself with the new process and the new voices.
I think a lot of it will be the same. You know, it's definitely it's different for me having a unique voice. Certainly missing Tim. You know, I like having him in my ear, but we got a great team here with the 2-car. A lot of it's, you know, holistically the same. We're going to be going through the same process that we always do, and you know, it's great to be back here. I'm glad we had that test last month. That always helps things, and you know, feeling excited to be here. I mean, it's difficult to not get excited about this place when you roll in the front gates, and it's a beautiful track. I think we're going to have some fast cars with Team Penske this month, and we're really focused, very, very focused on trying to get through qualifying and then having a good race.
We have been here, obviously, as you said, at the test, but what did it feel like this morning driving through here as the defending 500 winner?
Yeah, it's been, I mean, it's more than this morning. You know, it's been, I think it's been the whole year has been a unique experience, you know, one that I'm incredibly thankful for. Just, it's an incredible place. It's hard to describe to people if they've never been to this track. You know, it has a special feeling and a special place in motorsports. Just don't think you can beat the history, and, you know, when you win the race, it just completely changes your perspective. So it's been very cool to win it and to be here with this group trying to defend our title.
It's cold, kind of cloudy, kind of windy today. How much can you learn? How applicable may it be to the rest of the week?
There's always something to learn. You know, if these are going to be conditions at a different point in the month, then, you know, we're going to be bookmarking that. So I think every day is important. You know, I hope we get a little bit of running in here. We got an issue we're diagnosing right now, but if we get an hour in or so before the rain, that'll be great to have something to look at today, and then we'll see how the rest of the week shapes up.
What are you working on? What is the issue? Can you say?
What'd you say?
What's the issue? What are you working on?
We just got a sensor that's off right now, so we're just trying to take our time, and you know, we don't want to run the car without everything fully going, and just want to be safe.
Thanks, Joseph. That's why they do the install laps, guys, just like you were saying.
Yeah, we saw the engine cover off and taking a deep dive on his car, so.
Yep, so just a couple of errors that seem to be cropping up then. First time. Hello, everyone. I'm here as well. Yep, I'm here. Hi. All done, all dusted. Thumbs up. Yes! Right, let's kickstart this coverage then. Sato is top, 225.551 mile an hour. Andretti has put it up into second, 225.097. Lundgaard, Kirkwood, Herta. Now O'Ward goes up there as well. Takes a little bit more over the overall time. On board, slightly twitchy as well with Kyle Kirkwood going down towards turns 3 and 4. There's a very strong chance as well of, are you ready for it? Rain. Yeah, I said rain. There's a very, very strong chance of that coming in here today. So we're going to keep our eye on it. Fingers crossed it's going to be a-okay. And then we will go from there. We've got the field alongside, we have the battle screen, and we'll have guests joining us throughout the month of May as well. 1 hour, 45 minutes to go in this opening practice session as we swing through turns 2 onto the back straight. Ilott goes up to 8th, 221.457. Ericsson 9th, 221 mile an hour at the moment. Let us know if the streams are okay for wherever you're watching from as well, and they're not too bad. There might be a little bit of an adjustment I need to make as well on the settings right now on one of the instances, just to make sure that we're not overloading. So sorry for a blotch. You can still hear us though. Hello to everyone listening as well on USRN as we continue our coverage there as well. No, everything seems okay. Okay, we should be good. This is Kyle Kirkwood on board. A lot of fog and smog sort of coming in. High chance of rain this afternoon, so the refreshers and practice 2 very much under threat. So feel sorry for those who have to do the refreshers course as well. But Callum Ilott in as well for this weekend at the Indy 500 in place of Theo Pourchaire McLaren. Pourchaire will do the rest of the season, but not this one. Not the 500. They've given that one to Callum Ilott, which is either good or bad, depending on your overall viewpoint of things. Dixon with the top time, 229.107 mile an hour, braking towards the 230 mile per hour barrier for the first time this year. Let's hope that's going to be okay. Yeah, lagging just a bit, aren't we, as well on that one? Wonder why that is. It's probably because we've got everything open at once, trying to do things smoother. Whoa, a lot of squeaking further back as well. So time's starting to tick down. You can see below us who's setting the best times, and alongside us who's got the delta time. Does that actually work? Does that need more graphical work, do you reckon? Can you all see the speeds okay? I can't on my side of the screen. Yeah, it looks like it's a little bit of a change around. Everyone out there, Carpenter moves up the order as well. Stingray Rob as well, moving. 30 of the 33 are available. 3 cars have to do refresher later on. Here's Helio Castroneves, though, 49 years old, the Brazilian Spider-Man, 4-time champion of the Indianapolis 500. 4 poles as well in 23 starts. He really is Magic Man, isn't he, as well, as they come into it. Just taking a look at him coming down. Felix Rosenquist now in the 60 for Maya Shank Racing into turn 3 and 4. Few people still not here, of course. It's Speed Week, so not many people come in and watch the action. It's more open to the public than ever before. We're expecting a sellout, an absolute sellout for the 500 in 2 weeks' time. And we'll be live for all of the access here as well. Had to take INDYCAR radio for the first 15 minutes of this session because Sky Sports F1, no joke at all. I'm slightly furious about it, actually. Sky Sports F1 decided to show the replay from the 2021 Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, prioritising that over live track action of a series that you only cover. Yeah, not a great start for Sky on the 500, but they are showing every single session live after this, so it's like a catch-22 situation, I suppose. Can't really be mad, at the same time you have to be mad. So, yeah, catch-22, as we keep telling you about it. I wonder why this is glitching so much as well. Where's that timer screen? Time screen's come to a dead stop with the driver tracker. Okay, give us a second and we will access all the action. Let's head over to NBC and get their thoughts. Good morning to you.
Underneath the driver that has the best chance of winning this race, and that's in no way any disrespect to Tom or Felix, but you've got one of the greatest ever around Indianapolis Motor Speedway in this team. You're going to stack the deck, and what I mean by that is every team has a collection of parts, and there are so many parts that affect the outright speed of these cars here at Indy. Everything from the front wings, the rear wings, the underwings, the floor, and uprights, gearboxes, all those things. The difference between them can be marginal, but if you add up the difference between all these different things, it can be a decent amount of speed. And so you're going to try to stack the deck a little bit in the best way you can.
And here is the NASCAR Cup champion, fresh off running a wing sprint car and going upside down last night at Kokomo. Kyle Larson, debut in IndyCars and at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Still getting up to speed. This is just essentially an install lap in and out for Larson, who will be busy, to put it mildly.
Racing sprint cars, testing Indy cars, racing cup cars. He's kind of doing it all over the next little while.
So let's look back to some of the work of Kyle Larson at his day job recently.
What a finish we saw at Kansas just a few weeks ago, side by side. The photo finish doesn't even do this one justice, Kev. Was this not the closest finish in history?
Well, month of May is going to be great for us, so hopefully this just starts some momentum.
Chris Buescher thought he had it about 3/4 of the way through the cool-down lap, and when Kyle Larson even said, I was pretty satisfied. That was a great race. That was fun.
Yeah, Larson took it as well. 0.001 we had as well on the commentary. This is his month of May schedule. May 14th to 18th is the Indy 500 practice. May 18th is qualifying for day 1. May 19th is the Indy 500 qualifying for day 2. And the NASCAR All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. We'll be covering both. May 20th, Indy 500 practice. May 24th is Indy 500 final practice. May 25th is the Coca-Cola 600 qualifying at Charlotte in North Carolina. And May 26th is both the 180th running Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte as well. So he's doing the double. We're doing the double as well over here at JB Motorsports. So there's a lot of action to maintain as well and keep up with. Is that tracker now minutes behind again? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Lovely. So, okay, so now we know what's causing that problem. We'll fix that for the second session later on today, because JT will be back to run the stream tonight. Let's head down there and hear some interviews in the pit lane.
On the open test before we have a lot of rain, so the rain is coming, so it's very important for us to make laps and see if we can get good feedback from the drivers. I think it's all about driver mindset to start the month of May in a good way, you know.
How do you feel the Juncos Haulinger Racing oval program has improved over the offseason?
I think we're doing really good, to be honest. We are fast. I think we're showing that pace in every race weekend. Consistently, I think we need to focus a little bit more on qualifying, make sure we nailed everything on the red tires or green tires, which is a little bit off the window, I think, but it's difficult. INDYCAR is so competitive, so everything has to be right. So I think we are knocking on the door for good results with both drivers. Now we focus on May and Indy 500, but then after, I think we need to start making sure we put everything together for
Caution's out, yellow's out.
Right, thank you.
Uh-oh, yellow flag, and it is for moisture. Hopefully it's like what we saw.
Yellow flag for rain. So we get 25 minutes in, and now we've got a yellow flag for moisture on the track. It's inside the area, just a little bit. Not liking the look of that 110%. So, yellow flag for moisture. If you are just joining us here, so the cars will come down pit road once again, and the umbrellas have gone up. 25 minutes. That's all we got in the end. And it seems like the repeat's going to start day in, day out. Let's hand over to NBC while we've still got it. There is a lot of moisture out there as well.
Scott Dixon never ceases to surprise me how much right hand down on the steering wheel Scott Dixon runs on ovals.
You weren't that far.
I was not that far.
You don't think anybody else is that far?
I think Pelot does it just because he got in the team and said, just give me what Dixon has, which is smart. I always liked a little bit of right hand down. Of course, you see how the steering wheel isn't straight when he's going straight. He intentionally offsets it to be a little bit cocked to the right, so that way when you're turning in the corners, it's a little bit more of a normal positioning.
So we have known there were going to be 34 entries for a while, but one, if you want to call it the 34th, even though we knew the 6 car was entered for a long time, is the Arrow McLaren number 6. And we got confirmation of that yesterday. It's Callum Ilott, who we've already seen in that car a couple of times. The opener at St. Pete, the $1 Million Challenge at Thermal. Fresh off of a win in the World Endurance Championship at Spa on Sunday for Hertz, Team Jota. That's Tom Brady's team. Tom Brady is a partner in the team. I don't think it's his team.
I don't think he was there.
No, and hopefully someone told Tom that his team won. But Callum was the finishing driver in that win for Porsche, and then came back to America and was confirmed yesterday. Théo Pourchaire is in this car for the rest of the year. We've seen him the last 3 weekends, and Ilott gets a chance to run with Arrow McLaren. Just saw Ricardo Juncos. That's where Callum was last year, and honestly, it was not a comfy month. It was a miserable month for Callum, and there was a deep argument within the team. He said, this car isn't right. It's going to crash me. And they eventually changed it out, and Callum had a great race.
Yeah, he did.
From near the back up to, where did he finish, 12th or so last year. Yeah, 27th to 12th. So now he gets a fantastic opportunity. Arrow McLaren was strong last year. They've been strong. They have great resources. This is a car that can run up front, and he can show, hey, I'm deserving of consideration for a full-time ride for someone in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, you could argue that McLaren's been the second strongest team here at the Speedway for the last 2 or 3 years behind these guys right here in Chip Ganassi Racing. And, you know, Callum was one of those drivers that really lost out on the open test just with the way the timing worked out, the rookie orientation practice. Then by the time they got out and they all skate, I think he only did 4 or 5 competitive laps. So he doesn't have a good sense yet of the car and of the differences between what he's used to driving in the past at JHR and now at McLaren. But you can see on the screen, guys, that is more than a mist with Scott Dixon jumping out of the car.
Boo.
You can just see it kind of flying across the camera lens. And Georgia down in pit lane, how rainy is it?
Well, I will say it is picking up quite a bit. It started as just this kind of almost annoying little sprinkle, but I will say they've formed into almost raindrops. Now, I'm here with Graham Rahal. Graham, you did get out there for a split second. Did you learn anything?
Yeah, we just wanted to do 2 runs for wing checks to make sure that the front wings, we've seen a big variance in front wings, so we wanted to run 2 front wings just to see if they're close. And then we were just about to go run, and of course, this is what happens. But everybody in our squad is in a little bit of a different plan, and so I think Christian got to do a good run, so did Taku. So we'll see, but I mean, obviously we would like to do more. I hope that's not it for today.
I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention your new suit. Let's talk about that for a little bit, the new look.
Well, we got to do something, don't we? And you know, we had a dinner, I think December, January, with the United Rentals folks, and said, well, you know, we should do something kind of like we did in the Steak and Shake days that people won't forget it, you know. And so this is what they came up with. So I guess I only have myself to blame, but it's been really good. I think people love it, so it's been cool.
Having a 4-car team during the month of May in the Indianapolis 500, how valuable is that?
Well, it's really valuable, and also, you know, clearly we have 4, I feel like 4 good guys. I mean, Pietro in his first start here did a wonderful job with Coyne a few years back. And then, of course, you know, Taku, you don't have to speak to his record. Very easily could be a 3-time winner. Instead, he'll have to settle for a 2-time winner. But he's got a lot of valuable experience, particularly coming out of Ganassi last year, too. You know, I think he knows what a fast car feels like around here, and hopefully we can work on that and make it happen.
Well, thank you, Graham, for your time.
Thank you.
We were talking about that suit before we started. It does do the job. It is memorable. Reminds us of the Marco Andretti Indiana Jones suit.
That one I love.
We brought up the Steak and Shake suit that he had a few years ago. Gets people talking. That's the point of racing partnerships. All right, let's bring it in. Let's see how we're looking. Radar. Not looking great in Greencastle.
You know, I think it doesn't look too bad. All the big green stuff isn't moving. Look, guys, I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not going to pretend to know what I'm looking at here. All I know is right now, we haven't lost the track. I think that's the important part. We still have fans sitting umbrella-free out in the grass in turn 2, enjoying themselves. So, oh no, he's getting up because it's starting to rain. Yeah, you can see that. He decided to stay back down.
That's not fair to this guy. He
No,
didn't know he was going to be on TV trying to get out of the chair. All right, so it is sprinkling. There we go. Good. It is sprinkling at the moment, so that means that we are not going to see any activity for at least the next few minutes, but we are still hoping that this passes and we get some more running in. As you see, the teams are still on pit lane. No one's heading back to the garage. So we're going to step away because James Hinchcliffe is on a word count today. We need to pace him throughout the week, and
Yes.
we don't want to expend too many words with no activity. Do not close your stream. You can continue to watch how the progress is going, and as soon as race cars are about to go, we'll be back to talk about it. Stay with us. It's the opening day of Indy 500 practice on Peacock.
Yeah, so they're going to go to away from it because the yellows come out. They're circulating on the track. The cars have yet to actually go back into the gasoline alley, so we haven't completely lost the track just yet, but there is a lot of moisture out there, and this is evident of both today and tomorrow. So the track is just not going to improve that much. So meantime, let's get some words down from INDYCAR Radio.
Generation is Pietro.
I think because there's some racing on that bloodline, I would call it the third generation.
Third generation. Okay. Ryan Marine on pit road.
Well, let you guys think about this while I chat with Rinus VeeKay. Unfortunately, out of the car, we were chatting a second ago. I asked you, what do you think we done for a little bit? And you said...
Looks like it, yeah. The radar doesn't lie.
Tough way to get started here. I know you guys were chomping at the bit to get on the oval. Difficult way to start the month of May with the way that the Prix went, the Sancio Grand Prix went on Saturday. So ready to put that in the background and focus on going fast on the oval, which is something you've done your entire career.
Yeah, I mean, that's, what happened last weekend, right? So, we talked about it as a team, and now we go forward to the big one. So, yeah, it's, the crew is, they're more fired up than ever to show their great potential.
This is a place that you have always excelled on the oval here at Indianapolis, especially in qualifying. Did you know that you have been the fastest qualifying Chevrolet driver every year that you've been here?
Yes, I know. It's a pretty cool stat.
It is. I like that. I wonder who has the record for the best streak like that to start their career. But what was it when you turned up at this place that clicked immediately, because you were on the pace pretty much from day one?
I mean, it just feels comfortable. I just told my engineer at Barnes, I did one lap around the track, and of course you still build up, but I already told him, I'm comfortable. I feel good. I sink into the car and I'm one, right? So that's a good feeling.
And, you've run up front a lot the last couple of years. You had a pretty good result at fighting back through the field last year. Knowing what you know now, the lessons you've taken in, do you think this could be the year that you break through?
It's the 500, so you never know. But yes, if you, I've basically I've learned every lesson there is to learn. Everything you can think of, I've learned from. So, I would say I'm, experience-wise, and look at the ingredients we have as a team. I think this is the best year for us for winning the 500. But you never know. It's a long race. Things can go your way or they don't. But confidence-wise, I think we're really on it now.
We'll close with this. You've got Ed back in the car, in the 20 car here this weekend, but you also have a young rookie to help shepherd along in his first Indy 500 experience. It wasn't that long ago that you were the rookie. What kind of lessons do you remember from your rookie year that you hope to impart on Christian Rasmussen this month?
Well, it's little things like how to build up, how to get up to speed in this car, how to adapt to changes, what do you need from the car, because he's still finding everything out. I basically had the perfect car before, so I know what we need to go faster, and I can help him with that. But he's won every oval race in Indy Next last year, so I think he's a talented oval driver, so I think he'll have no problem adjusting to this.
All right, moisture is starting to pick up a little bit down here, guys. We'll turn Rinus loose, let him get back to Gasoline Alley. Thanks as always, Rinus VeeKay, and we'll send it back up to you guys in the Master Control Tower.
Rocket Rinus VeeKay, no doubt, going to be a threat for the pole, and always very exciting to watch that young driver from the Netherlands when he gets a chance to get up to speed with the rest of these drivers. But unfortunately, Jake, we're working that weather delay, and didn't like what I heard from Ryan there about it starting to pick up down there on pit lane.
I was fortunate enough in the off-season, Nick, to visit Rinus VeeKay's home country, which is beautiful, the Netherlands, and the weather should make Rinus VeeKay right now feel very at home, at least from my experience, at least in the fall. Very similar to this, but nonetheless not conducive for getting cars on track. So we are under delay here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 36 minutes into this session number one. Again, it is an all-skate, as we call it, until 11 a.m. The track is open. Weather...
Yep, so just to interrupt quickly as well, because we've got some comments coming in. First of all, from Polo LC as well. They're watching you from Spain. That's on the YouTube Twitch as well. That's on Twitch, I should say. So welcome, first time watching. Thank you. Everyone on YouTube, G. Hayes as well with Kyle Larson. He's in 27th place. Glad you saw that as well. I want to say Xeroxin. Really unfortunate. Look at the weather, mapping and radar. I think this might be some of the last running of the day. What's tomorrow's weather looking like? Pretty similar. Just rain clouds throughout the day as well, popping up at random times. And brilliant, if you don't know anybody watching, INDYCAR weatherman on Twitter. Brilliant. That's what we use up here in the commentary box. Absolutely brilliant man running that, who is keeping an eye on all the weather. And he did put a tweet out recently as well. Right about 10 minutes ago, it says, if we're getting into these light showers / drizzle / mist, maybe some intermittent openings, but overall it doesn't really get any better throughout the day. So it's not that great already. It's not that good. We'll hand it back to the radio.
And with some of IndyCar's best drivers to take a look back at their first career IndyCar win, with broadcast highlights helping to tell the story. Today on First of the Flag, we look back at May 6, 2001, with karts running of the Lehigh Valley Grand Prix at Nazareth Speedway. The 2001 kart season got off to what can only be described as a rocky start. The event in Nazareth was originally scheduled as the 5th race on the calendar, but would quickly end up the 3rd event of the season. After Cristiano Damata scored the season's opening round win in Monterrey, Mexico, the following race in Rio de Janeiro was canceled due to a financial disagreement. Helio Castroneves would take Team Penske to victory lane in early April of 2001 in the annual Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, but another cancellation would loom at the end of the month, this time at Texas Motor Speedway. Driver safety concerns would be the reasons, as the speeds and G-forces drivers felt around the mile-and-a-half oval had reached a breaking point. As the schedule transitioned to the 9/10 of a mile oval in eastern Pennsylvania, one of the men to beat in kart was no doubt Kenny Breck and his Team Rahal squad, who had placed 4th in the championship the year prior. By 2001, Breck was already one of the most accomplished IndyCar drivers in the sport, with an IRL championship and an Indy 500 win to his name in the late 90s. In qualifying, Breck would flex his muscle, putting his bright yellow and white Shell-sponsored Ford Cosworth on the front row. At the opposite end of the field, nearly
it appears we've lost the
8 miles per hour slower in qualifying was the driver who claimed the Indy Lights title 1 year earlier. Starting 23rd for the underdog Pac West Racing Team was a 20-year-old born in Australia but hailing from Auckland, New Zealand by the name of Scott Dixon. And despite the event in Nazareth being just the third...
This is going to bug me all day, isn't it? The radio not coming in and out. So this is going to be a lot of fun, isn't it, today? As yellow flag is still out. Wonder why we're having so many problems with IndyCar radio at the moment. It's a mystery to me at the moment as to what is causing these
start in
errors.
Dixon's career, it would be the first glimpse of greatness for the Iceman in American open-wheel racing's highest level. Former IMS radio anchor Paul Page would be on the call along with Parker Johnstone on ABC as the 2001 race in Nazareth would get off to a wild start.
Green flag flies. Junqueira and Breck go side by side. Junqueira's forced down low. We have a car sliding.
Looks like Brian Herta threw the cake off to the inside.
And at best, he brushed the wall, if he even did that. Of course, yellow comes out immediately. Now the car's nice and clean.
Remember, this year they're running substantially less downforce than in previous years. Cold tires, lots of horsepower. It's easy once you pick up the throttle to spin the rear tires and have the car oversteer. You can see Brian coming through the kink. The back end gets loose. Paul, I think you're right. I don't think he touched anything. But we saw that especially the front tires were severely flat spotted.
It looked like he may have gotten crowded down there along with Cristiano Damata. And the car slides. And fortunately, he is able to get it under control on the exit to the pit road and keeps the nose off the wall. So in the first quarter mile of the run, we have our first yellow. But in that same distance, Kenny Breck grabbed the lead away from pole sitter Junqueira.
Brian Herta wouldn't be the only one to harmlessly spin in the opening stages, as Helio Castroneves would do the same on the second attempt to start the race, causing another yellow. Running at the rear of the field, it gave Dixon and his Pac West crew their first chance to roll the dice on strategy.
This is rookie Scott Dixon, who just came into the pits and almost immediately back out.
Strategy, they're at the back. They qualified 23rd. They figured we might as well top up with fuel. With now 8 laps in the book, there's no reason you're not going to improve your position. So they're taking a chance now that a yellow will fall right at the right time later in the race, and they'll gain track position.
The race in Nazareth would restart on lap 11, and finally drivers could begin to establish some sense of race pace. It also allowed Breck to begin his domination as he'd pull a large gap on second-place running Oriol Servia and begin to run down lap cars at the rear of the field. On lap 46, Breck would even catch Scott Dixon and attempt to put him a lap down, but Dixon would prove hard to pass as the rookie would find a way to stay on the lead lap. Breck would look nearly untouchable for the first half of the race until a pair of cautions would flip the race strategy upside down. On lap 114, Tora Takagi would bring out a caution for a harmless spin, but that yellow flag would wave right in the middle of a fuel stint, forcing every team on the lead lap to ponder whether it was too early to pit and give up track position or roll the dice cycling to the back of the field with a full tank of fuel. For the race leader Breck, it was simply too big of a risk as his Rahal team opted to stay and hold the race lead. For drivers near the rear of the field like Dixon, pitting became a no-brainer as he'd top off on fuel and get a new set of tires. The race in Nazareth, however, would not stay green for very long.
Well, back at Nazareth Speedway, while we were away, they brought the green flag out again, and then almost immediately ended up with 2 cars together. It's Carpentier and Gilles de Ferran. Tagliani and Gilles de Ferran.
Coming down into turn 3, DeFerrin looking down on the inside. Tag turns towards the apex. They make contact right front to left rear, spinning both cars into the wall.
Dixon's gamble would pay off after the Tagliani and DeFerrin accident. With so much debris to clean up and a slightly injured Tagliani needing help from his car, the yellow flag would end up lasting more than 20 laps, forcing the hand of the leaders, sending Breck to pit lane for service. That would move Tony Kanaan and Shinji Nakano into the top 2 spots, but they didn't have enough fuel to make it to the end. Dixon quickly found himself in the 3rd position, and by lap 176, Breck had carved his way back through the field, right on Dick's heels in 4th.
Breck closing on Dixon.
But what's interesting here, Paul, is it looks like Scott Dixon is quicker through the kink. That is the bend just past start-finish. With this reduced aero load, it's difficult for the drivers to do it flat. Everything has to be just right. It'll be interesting to see with this onboard if we can hear the engine and see, in fact, if he is going through the kink flat, because he is gaining ground at Kenny at that point on the racetrack.
It has now been 100 laps, just under 100 miles, since Tony Kanaan and Shinji Nakano, 1st and 2nd, have pitted.
Coming off the last corner, let's listen to the engine now. No, he's got a pretty sizable lift going through the kink, but it's not apparently as much as Kenny's.
He's pretty much what Dixon is seeing in his rearview mirrors. And unfortunately for him, it's that glimpse from time to time of Breck, but he's holding them off pretty well.
Nakano would pit from 2nd with 43 laps to go. As for Kanaan, he'd push it too far, hiccuping in front of Dixon and nearly taking out Breck.
Well, figuring out where to put commercials in a race like this is a tough job, and the truck's been doing the best they can. Scott Dixon now has the lead. Kenny Breck into 2nd, and why? We were right thinking about Tony Kanaan. Despite the fact his crew suggested they were going to keep him out for a while, his engine decided it wanted a little more methanol if it was going to do that. As he slowed, Scott Dixon took over the lead. And then as he headed for the pits, Kenny Breck thought he'd go to the inside. Well, wrong place to go. He had to sweep back to the outside and stay in 2nd place ahead of Paul Tracy. But now he's climbing all over the back of Dixon. And Dixon should be pretty close on fuel, too.
With nobody left in front of him, 20-year-old Scott Dixon would have to focus on the hard-charging Kenny Breck in his rearview mirrors, who seemingly had plenty of time to make the pass for the lead with 30 circuits remaining around Nazareth Speedway. And while IndyCar fans may not have realized it yet, they were about to find out just how hard of a man Scott Dixon is to pass, as lap after lap, Breck's car would start to slide around any time he got close. The race would slow one final time for a spin involving Michel Jourdain Jr. and that set up an 8-lap dash to the finish for Scott Dixon to secure his first IndyCar victory.
The pace car accelerates away from the field. Green flag in the hands of the starter. We're ready to go back to green flag racing. A rookie has to bring him back. He's got to figure all of this out now if he wants to win. And he does a pretty nice job of it as Dixon accelerates away from second place Kenny Breck. That section under the yellow helped Dixon if, and we're absolutely sure it is, if fuel was a factor.
We can still see Kenny working the wheel. Keep in mind, during that yellow, he's maximized the weight jacker, the anti-roll bars in the car, everything he can to get the looseness out of this car. We can still see the back of the car is quite nervous.
Boy, think about Dixon. You got one of the best oval racers in the business right behind you. Dixon seems to be able to put that sort of thing out of his mind, though. Gary Gerald?
Well, that's exactly the point I wanted to make. You know, watching him come up and run in the Indy Lights the last couple of years, and Jan and I have been close to that series as we cover all of their events. Scott Dixon was almost unflappable, and sometimes you wanted to say, show us some emotion. But this kid isn't a kid behind the wheel of a race car. He's remarkably composed, and he takes things so matter-of-factly, it seems, and yet he's intense on the racetrack. An amazing job, and holding off Kenny Breck under this scenario here with less than 4 to go, in my mind, is just astounding.
White flag will come out to Scott Dixon, the rookie, trying to score a win on an oval. Let's see if he can do it. Kenny Breck is right there, traffic just ahead. He's just got to negotiate this traffic. Kenny Breck drops back a little bit. Kenny Breck moves to the inside. Now tries to sweep to the outside. Doesn't look like it's going to happen for Breck, but it will happen for Scott Dixon. The rookie becomes the 46th driver to win in kart. Good job, pal. Beautiful. He scores his win in his third start.
It was a strange weekend, actually, in the fact that, we didn't have much speed as a team. We struggled. I think I qualified almost last. But then my teammate had some adversities. His son had died on the weekend, Mauricio Guzman, so he wasn't in the race. So the team was definitely down. But to fight through the adversities, yes, we played a fuel strategy race and played it strong. We didn't really have the speed. Once we kind of got towards the front, nobody was definitely going to get by us, that was for sure. And, I think it was definitely frustrating maybe for Kenny Breck, I think, who had, dominated most of the race and ended up finishing second behind. But I think, the thing I remember the most is actually still racing after the checkered flag, and a car had slowed down. I hit that car, got a puncture on the right rear tire, and I thought I'd lost the race, but the race was already over. Nobody had come on the radio, so I looked like a bit of a fool, almost crashing the car on the in-lap. But you'll see in the pictures of the podium there, and the car's all fallen over because the right rear tire's got no air in it. So yeah, it was a weekend full of emotions, but it was huge for obviously Bruce McCaw and everybody at Pac West, and a win I'll definitely never forget. Yeah, I don't know if I thought too much about the pressure. I think I just couldn't believe that I was leading the race. I think with how that weekend started, I remember I spun out in the warm-up, and spun out of turn 4 and almost came back into pit lane. It was just one of those weekends where nothing was going. I think I got fined $10,000 that same weekend because I missed the driver's briefing. It was one of those ones that I tried to forget, but honestly it ended in the right fashion.
Since that first win in 2001, Scott Dixon hasn't really gone on to do all that much in his IndyCar career. That is, as long as you don't count his 50-plus wins, placing him second all-time, his 6 IndyCar Series championships, his 5 Indianapolis 500 pole positions, and his win in the 92nd running of the Indianapolis 500. But it all started for the Iceman in 2001 at Nazareth Speedway. From all of us at the IndyCar Radio Network, we hope you've enjoyed this look back at the 2001 Lehigh Valley Grand Prix. Make sure to visit IndyCarRadio.com for more information on how you can enjoy more race broadcasts from yesteryear, as well as schedules and live streaming audio, so you can join us live at the track on IndyCar race weekends. From all of us at the IndyCar Radio Network, I'm Nick Yeoman, and we'll talk to you again soon with another trip down memory lane with First to the Flag.
The preceding was an exclusive copyrighted presentation of the Indianapolis.
Yep, so we're still under rain delay here at the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500. Josh Birch back with you here on JBMotorsports as we wait to hear more information. The track still under yellow, still with damp patches out there as well. So we'll keep you updated then next time IndyCar Radio comes off. But right now, the track's still yellow, still damp, and we haven't actually seen any TV pictures just yet. We've got some radio messages for you down on NBC.
A different thing than you're used to, obviously, well, on the NASCAR side and then the sprint car side, too. It's way more practice. So how do you approach
We're
that?
going in with Kyle Larson,
kind of have a
first of all.
checklist of things you want to do each day, or is that up to the team?
I think for us, like these first few days, I think it's a lot of race running and traffic running and just trying to learn as much as we can with the car and with myself to get prepared for the race. And then as we get, I think, to Thursday or Friday, I think that's when you start focusing on qualifying some more. But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have like a checklist of things for me. I think that's all just going to naturally kind of pop up as every time I go onto the racetrack. I think something new is going to happen that I learn or figure out or present more questions, stuff to ask about and learn. So yeah, I don't know. It's just literally like every time I leave pit lane, there's like something new that clicks or a question arises. So I'm sure it's going to be the same way these next few days. And then I think then eventually you'll probably get comfortable, and then you can really fine tune your brain a little bit to be more relaxed and stuff. So right now, like, everything's happening kind of quickly, like just pit lane stuff. Like, it's so busy and like my awareness is super high. But I think like as I get more comfortable with that, like it's just going to become second nature, hopefully. And then yeah, all the on-track stuff will hopefully be fine. So far, pit lane's been the most stressful thing, IndyCar racing wise.
You have a lot of good people on your timing stand, obviously within the team, and I know you've talked to a lot of guys too that come from the NASCAR world that have done this. Jimmy and Kurt Busch. What's the best piece of advice you feel like you've gotten in preparation for this?
I don't know. I mean, Tony Kanaan's been the guy that I've talked to a lot, and I mean, I don't do a good job of like remembering everything, but there's just a lot of stuff that we've talked about as far as like, and again, mostly like pit lane stuff, but even I think qualifying, talking through adjustments. Tony's been really good as far as like, I feel like dumbing everything down, and like I think everybody like between media or engineers, like they like make everything such a big deal, and I think Tony's been really good to like just like, nah, it's not that big a deal, like just calm down, whatever, like, so that's been good, because yeah, I think it's really easy when you go into something new to overthink things. And I think like I'm a rookie, so I haven't been a rookie in something in a long time, but I remember being a rookie, like everybody's feeding you all sorts of information, and it's always a lot of times it's coming from people who've never driven a race car, so it's like I don't really know what's real or what not, but having Tony and his experience and all that, and like being a racer, I think he's just been really good for me to like just bring things down and all that. So yeah, it's been fun working with him again. I've had experience with him at Ganassi when we did the Rolex stuff. So super good guy and very accomplished here at the Speedway. So I'm gonna learn a lot from him for sure.
Well, it's great to have you here. Good luck the rest of this week and the rest of the month.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to enjoy listening to Kyle Larson just talk us through his experience, living a dream. Every race car driver of any discipline, I can't say every, but almost all, have dreamed about doing this, the biggest race in the world. He's clearly talented enough, but he doesn't know what he doesn't know.
And that's just it, and so far between the kind of half day of running we got at the open test and then the 4 laps he's had here today, not even 2 laps he's had here today doing install checks, the conditions are so different than what I expect them to be on race day, and that changes everything. So even what he has already experienced here at the Speedway, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but it's not even close. I mean, we're just scratching the surface. He's got so many different things he still has to run through, but I do like the point that he made that Tony Kanaan pointed out, which was, yes, this is a big deal. Everything about this is a big deal, but each individual thing you have to go through, it's just driving a race car. When you really break it down, the simple fundamentals are we're going out there, we're driving race cars, and that's something that Kyle has a lot of experience in, a lot of talent for. And you know, you can get lost sometimes in the lore of this place and the mystique of this place. But fundamentally, when you put on the helmet, you got to just pretend like it's any other racetrack and you're driving any other race car. And that's something that he's so very good at.
He has the mental aptitude for long races, too. He does that almost every week in Cup. IndyCar drivers don't do that other than the Indianapolis 500 anymore.
He doesn't remember them very well, apparently, but he's good at doing them in the moment, and that's what matters. But yeah, that was one thing I remember speaking to Montoya when he came back to IndyCar after his stint in NASCAR. He said one of the greatest advantages and one of the biggest things that his time in Cup taught him was how to manage those long-distance races.
Yeah.
We're down to one a year. You know, there were times when I was driving where we had 3 500-mile races, so you know, you're still doing 3 a year, but in Cup you're doing 15 of these things a year. And even a 400-mile race in Cup takes longer than a 500-mile race in an IndyCar does. And so that, that experience of managing races, looking at the bigger picture, you know, setting yourself up for that last stint and a half, this is something that he's already well-versed in.
There is as much hype and attention and anticipation for Kyle Larson for a newcomer, since Fernando Alonso, and before that, I think maybe Nigel Mansell as the reigning Formula One world champion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was a lot of hype around Jimmy when he came, but he'd already kind of stopped on the Cup side, so it wasn't the same sort of crossover experience that you're getting here. Fernando was still racing in Formula One the first time he came here. So yeah, I'd agree with that, Kev. It is a big deal. This is a global motorsports superstar, and for him to be taking the time to and having the effort, having the interest in making the effort to do this is huge.
So we have seen about a half hour of running. Not everyone has been on track, 29 cars.
Yeah, and at the moment, it's Scott Dixon, 229.107 miles an hour. Marco Andretti on his return as well is in P2. But for everybody, I know a lot of people here love Agustin Canapino, who check in on the YouTube streams at the Indy 500 month as well. He's running actually quite well for Canapino. In the opening laps, just checking where he is now on the timing monitor, because he was in 21st. He's bumped up to 20th, and if he dropped down to 27th position, that's where Kyle Larson is as well at the moment on the monitor. All right, back over to NBC.
It's damp, but not lost at this point, and we will continue with the pictures streaming, so you'll be able to see what's happening. Don't go anywhere. Stick around. We'll return if and when we see cars back on track today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I love how they also say when, if and when, because we really have no idea what is going to happen here today. We're all just sort of sitting around waiting. I mean, I'm up here in the commentary box in our UK studio setup, and I'm just sat down, not even with the headset on. I've just got a normal handheld mic that we have at the side of the commentary box here. But we're all just waiting around, seeing what's going to happen, because we were expecting to get the full 2 hours in from the morning session. That'll at least give us some practice. That's why the track went green at 9 a.m. Eastern. And then we were all just waiting. Got 25 minutes in. Sky only showed about, 7 minutes of that action before the rain came in, and now we're in weather delay. So, yeah, it's not the greatest of starts. But we had this last year. If you were with us last season here for the 500, you remember the first day got completely washed down. And then we had Wednesday. But Wednesday this year is looking to be washed out as well. So is Friday. So we've got this really unusual situation where we might actually have to schedule some more practice sessions on Monday next week and Tuesday in order to get the track time back. But that's after the qualifying session. Now, qualifying is on Saturday and Sunday, and there's practices in between, but we might actually have to schedule, we've got a session on Monday, that's an hour. We might have to extend that. I'm also hearing if we lose Wednesday, we could do Tuesday, but the logical thing to me is to make Monday's test session. I think that's practice 8. As they go to Thermal Club highlights over on Sky. So, yeah, the logical assumption for me would be to make Monday's session 4 hours long, which is just about half the time we'd get back from the 2 sessions we lose today. So make that session that long. Tomorrow, it's already going to have to start a little bit earlier because we were supposed to start at 1. Sorry, I think 1 or 10 Eastern, something like that. But I think we're going to have to start earlier tomorrow to get the refreshers session in, then have practice 3, which is exactly what happened last year, is that we lost practice 1 and we lost practice 2, so we had to have the refreshers and practice 3 on Wednesday morning. So there's a few precedents around what could happen. Anyway, let's hand it back over to INDYCAR Radio.
Both Elio Castroneves and Dario Franchitti have a chance to join
They're
the
on first win clubs as
four-time
well.
Winners Club. Foyt Racing is a contender. Honda looks to rebound after getting crushed in qualifying, and most of the experts are picking Marco Andretti to win. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Wherever in the world you might be, we are coming to you live from the world's greatest race course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we're ready to bring you exclusive coverage of the 97th renewal of the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500. Coming to you 104 feet above the Yard of Bricks at the world's greatest race course. Mike King and the entire IMS Radio Network crew with you on a cool, overcast race day morning at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We've got a great crew that will be covering the pits for you this year. It includes Nick Yeoman, Dave First, Michael Young, and joining us generally, you hear him and see him on the NBC Sports Network. But Kevin Lee, welcome back to the Indy 500. Thank you, Mike. This is always the highlight of the year. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of this broadcast. I've just walked out from the garage area. It's always a special time when the drivers make their way down Gasoline Alley. I walked first with Ed Carpenter. The ovation was huge for the local hometown hero. And then I think everybody's favorite, Tony Kanaan, just came through Gasoline Alley. We're now near the Yard of Bricks. We're expecting a fantastic race today, but it's going to be tough to top what we saw on Carb Day Friday afternoon, a 4-wide finish, and I'm with the winner of the Freedom 100 Firestone Indy Lights race, Peter Dempsey. Peter, you're fourth, coming out of the fourth turn. How did you win that race, and how did you guys not crash?
Well, I mean, it was an amazing race, and the support from the fans here at IMS is unbelievable. And how did I win it? When they went 3 wide, I thought I was going to go for a podium, and man, I just got to run to the line. Wasn't really expecting it, but I knew I got across the line first, and I shoved my fist in the air, and it was enough to take it. But it was an incredible race. We made a great bit of history, I think, here for the First Indy Lights Series, for the Freedom 100, and for IndyCar in general here at IMS. And I'm glad we could put on a great show for the fans.
What a first win in Indy Lights. Congratulations, Peter. Good luck to you. Let's hear from some of the other stories, and let's welcome in now Michael Young.
Guys, I am in Gasoline Alley, a gray day, but the fans are jamming this Gasoline Alley area. One of the most impressive moments thus far today. Team Target making their way out to the track. Dario Franchitti, Scott Dixon, along former Target Chip Ganassi driver Alex Zanardi. It was a fantastic sight. Marco Andretti just going out with his grandfather. The fans went crazy. He put his hand over his heart, and he saluted the fans. They slowly make their way out to pit lane and to Nick Yeoman.
Yeah, and as we make our way down pit lane, the Penske drivers making their way out onto the racetrack as well. Just saw A.J. Allmendinger making his debut in the eyes of that IndyCar Series in the Indianapolis 500, and walking down pit lane right now, probably about 40 yards from the Yard of Bricks, as a driver that wants to kiss them for the 4th time. That is Elio Castroneves. His teammate Will Power is just a little bit farther behind. So the Penske drivers, 3 of many, now making their way out onto the Yard of Bricks. Dave First.
And the action continues to build here on pit road and the start-finish line. The Yard of Bricks is once again Elio makes his way and continues to beat on his heart and say hello to the thousands of fans that have come here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You know, one of the many things that makes this race so special is the respect and the reverence that former champions also receive here in the 2 weeks since the track opened. Focus really isn't on just the current drivers, but also the ones from the past. 3 times champions like Johnny Rutherford and Bobby Unser, and of course Parnelli Jones, who celebrates 50 years since his win back in 1963. Parnelli still so popular that his new book that is out sold out during a autograph session yesterday. All getting ceremonial laps today here at the Speedway. In fact, Parnelli getting the opportunity to drive once again old Calhoun that he won with back in 1963. That's the scene down here on pit road.
Well, that's hearing from our Extrogen pit reporters for the first time today. Remember, Extrogen changing the way the world takes temperatures. And with temperatures in mind, we have not yet reached the 60-degree mark here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Remember, last year, 92 degrees, a track temp of nearly 130. It was a scorcher. Today, just the opposite. No sunshine right now, but the weatherman says that we should be in good shape weather-wise for the 97th running of the Indianapolis 500.
Hi, this is AJ Foyt. Donald, congratulations on your 50th year. I hope you make 50 more.
The legendary four-time Indianapolis 500-mile race winner, A.J. Foyt, wishing Donald Davidson a happy 50th race broadcast here on the IMS Radio Network. Donald, good morning to you.
Good morning. I can't go on.
50,
Are you kidding me?
50 consecutive appearances on the IMS Radio Network worldwide broadcast of this incredible event. And, Donald, I know that 50 races earlier in 64 when you stepped into the booth for the first time with Sid Collins, you never anticipated becoming part of the magic and the lore that is part of the Indianapolis 500. And 50 races later, here you are. You are part of this event. So it's great to have you back in the booth.
Thank you very much indeed. In fact, I apologize to you. I told you I would be up here right before 11 o'clock, and it was about 10 after. And the reason was I was down helping load the iconic winners into the pace cars.
Right.
And I think we had 10, and then there were a few cars put by in case other people showed up. And then Jeff Belska said, somebody said, do you want to get in? And Jeff Belska said, let's go. And I thought, well, this is a little tacky for me to do this, but he says it's okay. So
you took a lap.
So we took a lap. The interlopers behind the winners was Jeff Belska and his wife and myself, and I want to thank the fans out there for the really warm reception. But anyway, what we're to do here, and I think I'll just call it a day right here, and I'll go home and have a drink. And no, this has been fantastic. How you got Foyt to do that, I have no idea. But we were going to just look at the fact that Andy Granatelli, I believe, has attended every 500 since 1946. Now, he wasn't always an entrant for a few years. I mean, he was right after the war, and then there was a few years when he was not. But I don't think that he ever missed one, and this year he was not able to make it. And I don't know if he listens to the radio, but Andy, if you're listening, we miss you. It just literally doesn't seem the same without you. And your Unsung Hero award was given yesterday to Al Spire. Jerry Baker was the compere for the drivers' meeting. We have lost 4 drivers since last year, which you asked me to touch on. I don't know that we've ever done that before. But Jerry Grant, who almost won the race in 1972, made a late pit stop leading, actually came across the line second, and then was docked the final 12 laps for a rule infraction that I won't go into right now. And but that was he came very close to winning that one. He passed away. Eddie Russo, who was one of the few drivers left from the 1950s. Salt Walther, who was a great guy, very charismatic, also passed away. And then Art Malone, who was one of the final 12 drivers who drove a front-engine car, passed away March 29th. So we now have only 11 living drivers who can say, I drove a front-engine car in the Indianapolis 500. Throughout the rest of the day, we'll be touching on maybe some memorable broadcasts.
We asked, Donald, that that you condense 49 previous appearances into your top 5 moments, and we're going to be touching on those throughout the day. And by the way, allow me to also add we're missing this year, and was sad to say goodbye just about a month ago to former assistant starter Johnny Shipman, and certainly one of the all-time greats when it comes to motorsports journalism, the great Chris Economaki, who was a part of this broadcast for so long, Donald.
Also Ron Carroll, who was a member of the broadcast team for so many years.
Yeah, and in fact, it was, and very, very sad to lose them as well. We all know it's part of life, losing people, but certainly on this day wanted to remember them. So, Donald, you don't make predictions. You don't pick a winner. But certainly, I know you like cloudy days at the Speedway and what it can produce. But
no, I don't. I like sunshine.
Well, one of your favorite things at the Speedway always seems to be on cloudy days. You seem to like the way the color pops.
Oh, there's no question about that. Yes. I used to take amateur movies at races in the mid-1970s, and whenever there was an overcast day or it was on the verge of a rain out or was a rain out, the colors were much brighter. So, yeah, that is one aspect, but I would like it to be warmer and sunny.
Donald, congratulations on 50 in a row.
Thank you very much,
50
Mike.
in a row. We'll be hearing from Donald and his top 5 memories throughout today's race broadcast. When we come back, Paul Page, former voice of the 500, will join us as we get set for the 97th running of the Indianapolis 500. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, counting down to the start of the 2013 Indianapolis 500, the 97th renewal of the world's greatest race, and it's great to have you with us this morning as we continue our pre-race coverage, and it's also a pleasure to welcome to our radio booth, 104 feet above the Yard of Bricks here on the front straight in the IMS Pagoda, the great Paul Page, voice of the 500 from 1977 to 1989, calling some very memorable races during that span. And as always, it's great to have you back as a guest analyst once again this year.
I appreciate it. And I have a new career now. I'm a star. Well, not a star. I have a part in Turbo, the movie about Indy.
Well, there you go. So and it's coming out soon, and you have seen 17th. Part of the finished product, right?
I am. I am. You ready? Big name,
right?
Announcer number 1.
Announcer number 1, and of course the screening here in Indianapolis.
Went very well.
Everyone is giving Turbo the thumbs up.
It looks good.
Yeah,
it looks good.
Paul, what are you looking at as we get set to start what will be a rather cool Indianapolis 500 this year as compared to what was a very hot race 1 year ago? What are the things you're keeping your eyes on?
Well, obviously the temperature I am thinking about, remembering back to 92 when the highest temperature of the day was 58 degrees.
Yep.
And because of that, the tires didn't heat up quickly coming out of a yellow flag situation. And we kept having green flag, crash, green flag, crash, until everybody figured out how you have to come out of the pits and get the tires warm. It's not going to be as bad today, but it's still going to be critical on how good is your into the pit and out of the pit time. And that may help decide, with the close finishes we have here, that could be the race. I'm looking at the field, too, because you got a rookie sitting in the front row.
Yeah.
Another one right behind him.
Rex Mays in 1935 to start in the front row.
Good fact.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the 6th row. Everybody used to say, and it's still part of the way people think about this field that race in it. You either want to be in the front or you want to be all the way in the back. In the front because you can drive away from a first lap incident, and in the back because you have plenty of warning. Problem is if you're caught in the middle of the pack, if you have a melee on the first couple of laps. Row 6. I mean, you're talking to former winners and Sato, so that will be tough for them to try to figure out, and I'm sure there have been some very serious conversations going around row 6, figure out exactly how they are going to move past and work their way through the first lap. First couple laps, they're always critical here, but I think especially so today.
I can tell you this, Dario Franchitti feels darn good about both his chances and the teammates of his chance, Scott Dixon. He seems to be very content with the race car he's got.
And that is the road, Dixon, Franchitti, and Sato back in 6. And then outside of the front row, Marco.
How about that? And he's my pick. And
my pick too.
Yeah, most people are picking Marco Andretti this year.
So we've just doomed him.
Perhaps. Perhaps that is the case. Well, certainly, Paul, after 2012, with the record number of lead changes, all indications point to a race this year very similar to what we saw last year.
I think I said it at the end of the show here, that was the best race I've seen, eclipsing the 1960 race is my favorite. And I expect it to only get better today. I'm so pumped for this show, I can't believe it.
Well, we're looking forward to it. And Paul, of course, will be in and out throughout the race as he gathers some of that valuable inside information from both race control and downstairs on pit lane throughout our race coverage. And we'll be checking in with him. It's always great to see you.
Going to keep an eye on fuel mileage for you, too.
Absolutely,
Thank you, Mike.
Absolutely. Paul Page, voice of the 500, 1977 and 1989. As always, great to have him as part of our broadcast team as we continue on getting set for the 97th running of the 500. At the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, counting down to the start of the 2013 Indianapolis 500-mile race. Let's check in with one of our Extragen pit reporters, Nick Yeoman, for an update on the weather. Nick?
Yeah, Mike, obviously the storyline for much of today is going to be the fairly cool temperatures. A little windy down here on pit lane as well, but right now the ambient temperature right now at 62 degrees, track temperature at 72. That hopefully will warm up when we finally get these 33 race cars out onto the racetrack, but right now 62 degrees. That is the ambient temperature here in Speedway, Indiana, as we get set for the 97th running of the Indianapolis 500.
30 degrees cooler than it was 1 year ago when the huge crowd that attended this event every year was literally baking under a hot Indiana sun. And certainly I think I prefer 62 to 92 and a heat index of 105 just about any day. Okay, time to check in with the Hall of Famer, Jerry Baker. We talked about Donald Davidson celebrating 50 consecutive races on the radio network. Well, how about Jerry Baker? He's still a young pup. He's only celebrating his 40th consecutive appearance on the network, and he is joined by our driver analyst Davey Hamilton here with our Firestone Drive to Victory, and we're going to be talking about what it takes to get to victory lane on those Firestone Firehawks today. And Bake, happy 40th in a row. You still look like a young pup.
Well, I started when I was 11, Mike, so that's one of the reasons why.
You carry it. You've been here all month, every day, and give us your take. What do you think it's going to take to win this race today?
First thing, and Davey Hamilton will chime in on this as a car owner, you got to take care of your car. That's just very simple. You cannot go out there and try brushing around the wall or bumping other people. The second thing I thought about, Mike, was the fact that you've got to have good pit stops. That's one of the keys to any race. And the third thing, and this is something you and I chatted about on pole day last week, if you're the driver, Ed Carpenter, sitting on the pole, a single-car team, you got to find a dance partner. I think that's really critical for Ed throughout this race today. What do you think, Dave?
Davey, and the fact that Ed is in those first 9, the only driver without a teammate. I mean, you've got all 3 Penske cars starting in the top 9 and all 5 Andretti cars. Does that put Ed at a disadvantage?
Well, I don't know if it's a disadvantage, Mike, but it's definitely a situation to where he does need help. And I don't know that you could really stage it. I think the race has to play out, and where you are is where you are. You can't really say, okay, I'm going to stick with my teammate only, unless you stay in a single-file line. But it's a 500-mile race. I think he's going to find somebody. I think he has a strong car. And, watching him last year here, being a contender for this race and winning the last 500-mile race in this series, he can get the job done as a single-car team for sure.
You made, Davey, 11 starts in this race, and you did several of them as a single-car team. What was your mindset as you started the race, or does that simply go out the window, and once the green flag falls, does all of that kind of change?
On both sides, as having teammates, I should say, at one point it is a situation where we think, hey, we do need to work together, but it was very hard to ever make that actually happen. There's always a car in between us, or we couldn't get with each other. But as a single-car team, you throw everything out the window and say, you know what, we got to worry about what we can do, how it plays out. We'll see who we run good out there with. We'll see who else needs some help besides just us, and go with that.
Your guy, Simon Pagenaud, is going to start 21st, but, man, he was fast on Carb Day, the fastest, in fact, and it looks like Honda, just like last year, is kind of following the same script. Throw away qualifying. We just want to be fast race day.
Well, I don't think they really want to throw away qualifying, though. We all want to be up front. Honda wants to be in that fast group.
Then their strategy failed because Chevy really, just dominated.
Well, I think what happens, though, is for whatever reason, and I've never really it hasn't explained to me as a car owner, is I guess the reason is they want to see big speeds for qualifying.
Sure.
So what the league does is they turn the boost up just for qualifying. They take it away for this race. They take it away for all practice. So the only time that these drivers and these teams see extra boost is for qualifying. I think the situation is, Mike, that if you look at all practice, there's Hondas mixed up in that top 10 with Chevrolets all week long. But when that extra boost goes into them, it doesn't advantage the Hondas very well. They really make their engines for what turbo boost that the rules allow to race with. So when they do that extra boost, I think the Chevrolets take a big advantage, and it livens their engines up more so than the Hondas.
Bake, we talk about the draft here, talk about what happened during practice, and you've seen it for the last 7, 8, 9 days that the cars were out on track. The Andretti guys have been out there doing it. 3, 4, 5 guys, all of their cars out there. They have practiced more drafting together than certainly anyone else out there, and they can kind of put a game plan together for that.
I thought it was fun, Mike. It's interesting if you were a non-race fan who may be here for the first time and saw those 5 cars out there, didn't realize they were team cars, and you're looking at them, you're going, what in the world is going on? Because they're moving around, they're moving in front of each other, they're running side by side. I think the Andretti guys have got this race figured out. Now, whether they can win or not, that's a totally different issue.
Well, the Firestone Drive to Victory brought to you by Firestone. Whatever you drive a Firestone. Of course, Davian Bake will be with us throughout the entire 200-mile race, and we'll be getting their input throughout. When we come back, we'll hear from the drivers that will start today on the front row of the 97th Indianapolis 500.
Hi, this is Bobby Unser. Donald Davidson's 50th anniversary. I can't believe it, but congratulations, Donald, and I know you'll do well.
Fantastic month of May for you. Fantastic month of...
Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we count down to the 97th running of the Indianapolis 500. You know, one of the wonderful things about this racetrack is that the special memories and moments transcend generations at Carpenter, on the pole. And maybe talk a little bit about some of your early memories of being here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
I mean, there's a lot of them. You know, I mean, remember watching Rick Mears qualify in 91. You know, I remember coming out a Monday morning with Alan Sir Jr.'s family, and he let our family be a part of his, I believe it was his second win. You know, celebration photos. Eddie Cheever was a family friend. You know, being a part of his celebration. You know, being a part of those moments. You know, I've seen what that does to a guy and a family. You know, so just really hoping and praying that we have a successful race day.
What do you expect from this race today?
You know, I expect to go out and perform at a high level. I expect the whole team to do the same and execute our game plan, and I hope that's enough.
Best of luck today.
Thank you.
That is Ed Carpenter. He will start on the pole. Let's go to Kevin Lee.
Carlos Munoz will start his first 500 and his first IndyCar race in the middle of the front row. How prepared are you for this opportunity?
I'm thinking all my life I've been dreaming for that. I was racing since I was 8 years old to be like where I am now. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a long race so you have to have a lot of patience. I have a great car. I'm really comfortable with myself. So my main goal is still to finish the race. I'm not going to put more pressure on me to say I have to win.
Good luck.
Thank you.
It's his Indy 600. He's already done the Freedom 100 in Indy Lights and involved in one of the most unbelievable finishes we've ever seen. He led most of the laps, and he ultimately finished fourth in a 4-wide finish. Now to Michael Young.
With the driver starting on the outside of row number 1, Marco Andretti. It has been such a fantastic month of May for you, starting on the outside of row number 1 this morning. Have you talked with Carlos Munoz, your teammate? Is there a game plan going into turn number 1?
Yeah, we're about to have that meeting pretty shortly, but I think, you know, the meeting's going to go something like whoever gets the jump, the other guy doesn't challenge him, you know, into one. So if I end up getting a better jump, then he doesn't challenge me and the other way. So hopefully, you know, we're both on the same page. We just want to, it's a long race to get through.
Currently second in the point standing. Obviously, it's been a successful year for you. You did the training over in Europe. It seems like your whole persona's kind of changed this year. Is this a new and improved Marco Andretti?
I'd like to think so, yeah. I just, you know, it's been a refreshing feeling to be able to actually put, you know, some of that work into results. So, you know, it's confirming that what I'm doing and where I'm studying, where I'm lacking is actually working. So that's a good thing.
Do you have a car to win this race?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, I think if we would have went for a tow, we can go P1, but that's not the game plan of yesterday. It's just to really get a good, comfortable car, which we have.
Best of luck today.
Thanks, man.
He's looking good this entire month of May. Starts on the outside of row number 1. That's Marco Andretti.
As we get ready here for the start of the Indianapolis 500, Elio Castroneves, one of 2 drivers going for 4 wins in an elusive company with Rick Mears, Al Unser, and A.J. Foyt. Elio, does the pressure of that, trying to go for that 4 wins, does it ever get to you? Do you think about that much?
No, not really. To be honest, it's part of it. Every time I come over here, you kind of reset
reset, play, and go again. You know, you gotta try to fix what happened in the past to make it happen in the future. So, and that's what we're doing right now.
What do you expect today when we drop the green flag?
Certainly, we're gonna be very, very busy during the race with a lot of activities. You just gotta be patient and put yourself in a good spot.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
That is three-time winner Elio Castroneves. Michael Young.
Thank you, Nick, with three-time Indianapolis 500 winner, defending champion Dario Franchitti. One of the most special things race fans will see on race day is the cover of that program with the four-time winners, the living three-time winners. Talk about that photo shoot and what went on that day.
We actually did the photo shoot in separate things. The four-time guys went down to Foyt's place in Texas, and we did it in Indianapolis. And was it December? It was pretty cold, I remember that. But it was a really fun day for us to do that. No, it was pre-Christmas. It was definitely pre-Christmas. And it was really, really cool to hang out with the boys. I was checking in the hotel, and at one point Elio hadn't shown up, but there was 9 Indy 500 wins at the reception at one point, just checking in for our rooms. And we had a good fun dinner, and then hung out taking the pictures, and we were joking around and stuff. It was really cool.
You won from dead last year after the spin. You start in the middle of the field this year. Is this car capable of winning, in your opinion, coming into race morning?
Don't know. Don't know the answer to that right now. Don't know if we've got the balance right for the weather conditions. Don't know if we've got the downforce level right. Don't know if the Hondas have made a big enough step up. All will be revealed, I would say, but we will be fighting for every position, and we'll be fighting every lap to try and get it done.
From your first win in 2007 to your third win last year, how has your appreciation and or respect for this place and this race changed?
I've said it before. This is one of the funny, odd things you do in life. The Indianapolis 500, the more you do it, the more it means to you. Most things, the more you do it, you kind of become bored of it, regardless of what it is. If it's jumping out of planes, flying helicopters, riding motorcycles, this is different. And my first year here, I was kind of like, what's the big deal? By the time I'd finished my first race in 2002, I was like, yeah, I get it. And that love and appreciation of this race has only increased, and would mean a tremendous amount to win it again.
Best of luck today.
Thank you.
He'll start in the middle of row number 6, three-time winner and defending champion. That's Dario Franchitti.
Yep, so our Extragen pit reporters, Michael Young and Nick Yeoman, catching up with two guys that have a lot riding on today's race. And, Davey, let's face it, we don't often have the opportunity.
Hello, JB here up in the comms box on JBMotorsports as well. Hello to everyone listening on USRN as well. Just quickly updating you on the weather forecast from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is raining harder now than it has all day. So we've officially lost the track. So that's why you might have noticed that the timing tower has gone to 7 hours and 30 minutes. Basically, I think the current plan is, we've not had it confirmed yet, but the refreshers are going to run for like half an hour, and to get them in when the track goes green, and then the rest of the cars will be allowed out. So I think practice 1 has now just become the entire day, but the weather forecast still not looking great here as well. Very doubtful that they're going to, because the amount of rain that keeps coming in around the weather forecast as well, and this is going to continue popping up all day. If INDYCAR keep losing the track, then we're going to be here all day trying to dry it out. So I don't know how long they're going to push this for, maybe a couple of hours waiting, couple of hours delaying, but it's starting to look a little bit unlikely we'll get running in. But if we get a break in the clouds, they're quick at drying the track, it takes an hour, we'll see what happens. Back to INDYCAR Radio and their coverage of the 97th Indy 500.
Very strong military feel here. Very, very patriotic.
Well, in just a couple of seconds, we will be joining track public address announcer Dave Calabro as he will be introducing Lieutenant Colonel Jack Jacobs, who will address the assembled thousands upon thousands of fans and the military just in front of him. So as we get set to go downstairs on what is a cloudy, cool, overcast day here in Indianapolis. But despite that, the weatherman, it looks like, is going to be good to us. Let's go downstairs to the victory podium as we get set to hear from Lieutenant Colonel Jack Jacobs.
Lieutenant Colonel Jack Jacobs will now address our troops.
Ladies and gentlemen, about 240 years ago, the
people who founded this country had one objective, and that was freedom. And now, in the 21st century, we're still free. We're free because men and women valued this country more than their lives. They risked their lives, and many gave them so that we can remain free. Memorial Day, every day should be Memorial Day for all of us. We should keep the memories of those people who sacrificed their lives for us and our liberty close to our hearts forever. May God bless you all, and may God continue to bless the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, to perform God Bless America, please welcome John McLaughlin to the stage.
Okay, they've muted that on INDYCAR radio, it seems. That wasn't me, but that's actually come at the perfect time because INDYCAR Weatherman has literally just put a tweet out as well. So that wasn't me muting it, just to let you know. But INDYCAR weather, let's have a look. Just opening up the tweet. Here's your 10:30 a.m. radar update. It's not happening, guys. Yeah, it is bad now. Like, there is a lot of heavy rain blowing in for the rest of the day. We're going to try and get it up on the stream for you if you're watching on YouTube as well. So actually, I think we can, can't we? Hello, because I've just remembered we've got Visor logged in on the iPad here up in the commentary box. If I just start that running, we might be able to show you some of the tweets. If you're listening on USON, just accept what I'm saying is that it's a big, massive cloud. Like, humongous amount of cloud cover is coming in right now. So we're just waiting, effectively, for NASCAR. Sorry, I keep doing that because I'm used to covering NASCAR with rain delays at the moment, not INDYCAR. I knew that was going to happen. I don't think INDYCAR are going to have a great time of it today, unfortunately. So we're just loading up the Twitter, and it's loading in now. So if I press button, if I go down and find out where the screen is that I need, can't remember where I've put it now. Here it is. Here you go. So if you're watching now on YouTube, you can see what is going on. This is INDYCAR's Weatherman Twitter, and you can see, there's Cloverdale. If I tap that monitor for you and let the video play out, there you go, you can see what we're dealing with here. Is there is a lot of, there's just a ton of yellow weather warning. So the green means it's light rain. The yellow-orange means it's medium rain. But those little bits of red that you can see, that's very, very heavy rain that is going to blow in. And you can see it's just covering the entire part of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So you're seeing it now on your screens. Finally, it's updated itself. So you're seeing on your screen, and that's basically what we're contending with. That's the latest update as well, and blowing out for the next couple of hours. So it's starting off with this short little sprinkle of rain, and then the big ones coming through. So, yeah, it's not going to happen. The chances of today happening, it's not. There's more chance of a seat at Taylor Swift's next concert than there is of today happening at any point. So we'll continue to keep you updated here on JB Motorsports and USRN. But that is the latest news we've got. You're seeing it for yourself. It is just an absolute deluge of water out there on the track right now. So we will keep you updated, and we'll hand you back over to the 97th running of the Indianapolis 500 from INDYCAR Radio.
Help each team to do its best and to live with the result. On this weekend, we remember the men and women who died while serving in the armed forces of the United States of America. May their sacrifice not be in vain. Let us continue the struggle for liberty and justice for all your daughters and sons. Grant us enduring peace, the peace you alone can give. We hold up to you those who will spend today in sorrow and loss. Give strength to the victims of the recent storms in Oklahoma and comfort those who still suffer from the attacks in Boston. As we thank you for this race, a gift which Indianapolis shares with the world, we offer our best wishes to these drivers who help to represent the human family and bless them in their native tongues. Godspeed, buena suerte, bon ruta, boa sorte, ganbaru. Be with us as we make our way home and continue our joy tonight by helping our beloved Pacers to ice the heat. To you be all glory forever and ever. Amen.
Yeah, maybe a radio broadcast going silent isn't the greatest thing at the moment as well, as we're just sort of sat here waiting around, seeing what's going to happen.
Rifle volley and taps being played this Memorial Day weekend as part of the pre-race traditional ceremonies here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Next up on the victory podium, Sandy Patty to sing our national anthem.
Remove your hats. Five-time Grammy Award winner and Indiana's own Sandy Patty performs our national anthem.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets reclear, the bombs bursting in air.
Wow. Yeah, that was the 97th running of the Indy 500 opening ceremonies, and that was, 11 years ago now coming up? So what was that, 2013? I remember watching that race just after the Monaco Grand Prix on my iPad to watch it as well. Great race, and I'm no doubt that we're going to hear it a bit more throughout the day as well. That race in total. So if you're just joining us, wanting to know what's happening, we're in a rain delay here for the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500, their first practice session. We had 23 minutes and 37 seconds of green flag running before the yellow came out. We've been under a yellow now for 1 hour and 18 minutes. And so far, we should be coming up in the next 15 minutes to the end of the scheduled first practice session. So, arguably, that in a few minutes' time, that should be it. That should be it for us until for a 2-hour break to go have some food and come back at 12 as well, or 1 Eastern and 6 here in the UK. That, however, I don't think is going to happen. We've had no information yet from INDYCAR or Indianapolis Motor Speedway about what's happening. It's really at moments like this when they let the fans down, that we're just sort of sat in perpetual delay and they don't tell us anything. It really is quite bad. But right now, we are still in this weather delay. No change on the radar, as I showed you a few moments ago, if you were with us, about this rain that's just going to be here for the entire day. We got 23 minutes, of which Sky F1 showed 7. So, yeah, that went well, didn't it? But, no, can't see anything happening at the moment with any other form of dry action for a considerable future. So, yeah, just having a flick through on social medias. No rain on our parade. Yep, it did start raining, INDYCAR. That's where we go to, using the hashtag Indy500. Yeah, I've just seen some latest images from the track as well, and it says, update 11:40. Here's how things stand now. The rain got heavier, and a front with more rain is expected to arrive from the southwest. The afternoon activity could be extended. So the morning session looks like it's going to be cancelled, and we might have to come back on air for whenever we decide to go in the afternoon. So that's how it's going. Our schedule here on JBMotorsports takes us for another 14 minutes. After that, we'll go off air and get ready for the afternoon session to see exactly what is going to happen then. So as soon as we get the command that we're going, we'll go. But we're going to have to wait to see if they actually end practice 1 or if practice 1 is just going to continue. Either way, back to INDYCAR Radio for now.
The nerves go away, and you just, for me, I just get into focus, and it's go time at that point. You just kind of let the natural reaction take over, but leading up to it, it's going to be pretty cool.
A.J. Allmendinger rolls off 5th for the 2013 Indianapolis 500. Dave Wilson?
He'll go off 6th in his 6th attempt to win this race. What do you do differently this morning, Will Power, to make that dream come true?
I just think you do what you do as the race plays out. I mean, is something you cannot predict. Racing's, all about putting yourself in the right position, good pit stops, being consistent, and we just need to spend the first half, get in the second half, as Rick Mears says, and see what comes for the last stint.
You've had some rough luck for the last year or so at every racetrack. Do you do anything to change your luck? Have you tried anything, changing your routines or anything on race morning?
I have a couple of 4-leaf clovers. Let's see. I'm serious.
In your suit, do you take them in the car with you?
I'm considering putting them in my pocket. Yeah.
Where did you find the 4-leaf clovers?
Actually, a fan's gave me one. Then another fan gave me another one. So it's let's see what that does.
Well, Pat Flattery won the 56 500 with a big shamrock on his helmet. Maybe it'll work for you today.
I hope so.
He'll go off 6 again today, guys. Will Power driving for Team Penske.
Okay, our Exergen pit reporters checking in with our Row 2 starters, and who knows, the 2 Shamrocks or the 2 4-leaf Clovers might help. I mean, look what it did for Peter Dempsey. He had one on either side of his car as he won the Firestone Indy Lights event, the closest finish ever here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on Friday afternoon. Let's take 10 seconds to get our local stations to identify themselves, and we'll come back and bring in Mr. Jim Neighbors as you are listening to the greatest spectacle in racing on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network.
Yep, so the edit clearly isn't working.
An emotional moment here just a few minutes ago as we were hearing from our second row starters as we saw Jerry Baker, 36 runners who have not been allowed to complete the Boston Marathon because of the bombings that took place. They ran the final quarter mile from the exit of Turn 4 to the Yard of Bricks and were welcomed there at the line by a throng of fans, and to great applause here by the fans in the front straight, but a very special moment for them,
I noticed
I'm sure.
a couple of state policemen, Mike, holding up a ribbon so they could actually cross the finish line finally. What a great story.
Well, we continue on here, and Davey, as we see the drivers now strapped into the cars, the waiting game for them, I'm guessing you've done this 11 times. It's a little difficult at this point. You want to get racing.
This is the worst time right here, Mike. This is the very worst time. You're in your office, so you're comfortable where you're at, but the anticipation is hard to take. The energy that's at the Speedway right now is just unbelievable, and you know it. And you get in a car at a different place than you've ever gotten in the car before. That's on the racetrack. That's lined up and with the 33 other drivers on the track. You're usually in pit lane. You're in practice. You're going out for qualifying. But this race is so much different than any other. And right now, there's 33 nervous drivers, I'll guarantee you, down there. They want to get this thing going.
Did you ever have a situation, we heard A.J. Allmendinger say kind of feel like you want to throw up. Did you ever have problems with nerves? Because there are, in fact, some drivers that do.
There are some that do. Obviously we were nervous. I never went that far. I never felt like I was going to throw up. I think it was more anticipation that you have. You're nervous, but you're just anticipating, and you want to get this thing to go. And I mean, you don't know what the outcome's going to be. You know that you're going to be out there with 32 of your friends. There's 33 cars on this grid, and that you got to do the very best performance that you're ever going to do, because this is the race that everybody wants to win.
Well, we're standing by for back home again in Indiana with, of course, Jim Neighbors, and we are waiting for him to appear on the victory podium, and as soon as he does, we will be hearing from him. Davey Hamilton, how about our Twisted T, Twisted Turn course description? Pretty easy here at the Speedway to know where you're going.
This is going to be the easiest one of the year so far, Mike. The first oval we've been on, but it's still the most challenging. This is the most challenging track we go to, Mike. And when you go down the front straightaway, exceeding 230 miles an hour entering that turn 1, Mike, it's a wall in front of you, and it's very difficult to make it through there sometimes.
Well, one of the all-time great traditions at the Speedway here is about to continue. By the way, today's race course description brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Next time you crave a cold, refreshing iced tea, but with a kick, try a Twisted Tea, the hard iced tea that tastes just like fresh brewed iced tea. As momentarily, nice to welcome Bake Jim Neighbors back to the track. A lot of folks, after he missed last year, thought we may not see him back at the Speedway.
I must tell you, Mike, at the drivers' meeting yesterday, I left the script momentarily, and after all the drivers had gotten great rounds of applause, I introduced Jim Neighbors. He got the biggest round of applause of the day by a big crowd that was on hand for the drivers' meeting.
Well, we continue to wait. Let's go downstairs to the victory podium, I think.
Okay, I've just been informed that whatever happens, that is the end of first practice. So they are not going to restart this first session. So what I think now the schedule will go to is that we'll go to refreshers and then practice 2 for the scheduled duration of the end of the day. So first practice is over. Now they'll reschedule it, because Peacock have just gone off the air, I've been told. So there's now no TV pictures either, which means it's a gap in the session. So we're now ending FP1, will start for FP2. So we're going to come off the air now as well and get ready to launch into our second program as soon as we have any more information. So if you're watching us here on JB Motorsports and on YouTube and Twitch, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and also hit the notify me on the Practice 2 stream that is already available if you go to the track as well. So that's what we're going to do now. We'll go off air. The second we know we're coming back, we'll hop back on the different stream as well. So first practice is officially over. Thanks to everyone at US Arena as well on JBMotorsports for sticking with us for the last 2 hours. Practice one's officially over. The track isn't officially lost yet, but it needs chance to dry. With the rain coming in, we can't go green. So the second we know we're going green, we'll go live on Twitch and on YouTube once more. So make sure to hit that notification bell and you'll know when we're back. From us all here, though, thanks for your company in this shortened first session. We'll be back on air ASAP as soon as the rain clears, and we'll come back with our second stream of the day. Bye for now.